Welcome to today's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast, your channel for super easy, no-nonsense advice on how to declutter and organise your home. Please welcome your hosts, professional organisers Ingrid Jansen and Lesley Spellman.
Hello and welcome listeners to episode 117 of the Declutter Hub podcast. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Lesley.
If you have clutter and want to sort it out, this is the show for you. And Lesley, I want to say Merry Christmas to you and to all our listeners because this podcast is coming out on Christmas Day. Now, listeners, full disclosure, we are not recording this on Christmas Day. It's just coming out on Christmas Day. But how exciting is that? Do you think anybody's listening to us on Christmas Day? Maybe when they're preparing their turkey.
I know. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I don't know whether I like that idea or not. People listening to us on Christmas Day. I feel like there might be better things that you can be doing on Christmas Day. But if you choose to spend your Christmas Day with us, then thank you so much, because I think that's a lovely thing, isn't it, Ingrid? I'm going to look at our statistics today to see whether anybody actually downloads and listens on Christmas Day, just to see whether people do. So, of course, there are a lot of people who don't celebrate Christmas. And so normal day. So
yeah,
if you're listening, Merry Christmas. Have a fabulous, fabulous day. And if you want to finish right now, then we completely understand that and go and enjoy yourself with your family. Or you can listen to us later in the week. Also absolutely fine. Episode 117, Ingrid. It's been quite the journey in 2020, hasn't it?
Well, you're saying that. I mean, it's like it's been like the weirdest year ever. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We are actually going to talk about 2020 because it's the year that everything changed for basically everybody in the whole wide world, isn't it? It's just been the weirdest year. So we're not going to go back all the way to January, but I think we should kind of pick it up beginning of March when kind of COVID hit. How it was such a strange time. I mean, can you believe it's 9 months ago? It's such a funny old year.
The interesting thing is, Ingrid, that we are going to come in with a different light to a lot of people in their reviews of 2020, because for us in the decluttering world, 2020 has been positive for the most part, hasn't it? Just that little bit. I know there's been a lot of sort of not quite so nice things as well. We're just going to skip over those, aren't we? And we're going to talk about decluttering, which is what we're here to do. But 2020 allowed people the opportunity, because of all the rubbish things about COVID and coronavirus, to stay at home. And what that meant is that people were very much focused on their surroundings, on their environment, on people instead of stuff. And a lot of people got really fed up with the houses that we're living in and decided to take action.
Yes, I mean, decluttering suddenly became on everybody's agendas. In the beginning, it was like, we're going to declutter. And then we had the whole process of, all the charity shops are closed. What are we going to do now? So it's just been this really funny sight. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. Let's be honest. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, but decluttering wise, it's been so interesting to see all over the world what's been happening. And yes, people have taken their decluttering level a notch up, haven't they?
Now, the interesting thing for us was just around the time that COVID hit the UK, we were in the middle of our 40 days, 40 items challenge that we do every year. So we started off in earnest at the beginning of Lent in February, didn't we, with our 40-day challenge? And then very soon into the challenge, it became clear that we were going to get locked down. And obviously that was a shock to a lot of people. People were staying at home. Life changed pretty much overnight for people. And we were really uncertain what to do with our 40 days, 40 items challenge. So Ingrid and I were having all these meetings and stuff, which was like, what are we going to do? We can't talk about something like decluttering when the world is just completely on its head overnight. So what are we going to do? So we asked you guys and we were like, what do you think? Do you want us to carry on? Do you want to stop? What do you want to do? And so everyone was like, no, we want the release of decluttering. We want something positive to focus on to take us through. So in actual fact, the 40 days, 40 items challenge was even more successful than it normally is, wasn't it, Ingrid?
Yeah, it was, we were very like, we talked about it a lot because we're like, can we really talk about decluttering when there's like this worldwide epidemic going on and everybody's like, the world is like on its head? Can we really talk about what item we're going to declutter? And we just didn't want to come across as like, oh, we don't care about what's going on with you. We're just going to keep talking about decluttering. But the feedback that we got from everybody was like, we really want something positive to focus on, because every time we turn on the television, the news, read the paper, it's all so negative. And that your daily video with just an item and why you're decluttering, it really cheers us up. Or that photo you're posting or a story that you're telling, it cheers us up and it gives us something else to focus on. And it was a very positive experience for a lot of people. And we were so mindful that we didn't want to kind of be not in the right place at the right time. You know what I mean? So we really kind of took your comments on board and we like, okay, if it brings people so much happiness and joy, let's continue and just see how we go. We don't know what's going to happen. And it was a tremendous success. And it really kind of propelled people to declutter much more than they even envisaged when they started the 40 days, 40 items challenge.
Yeah, and of course, we learned from that, didn't we, as well? And so we knew that there was a chance that people were going to be locked down for, we didn't know how long, did we? But we had a suspicion that it would be at least a couple of months. And so we set to and we wrote and created our 8-week declutter boot camp. And so under normal circumstances, we don't necessarily believe that decluttering can be a quick fix. As you all well know, after listening to us for so long, we consider decluttering to be a process, not a project. But we knew that a lot of people were like, I want something to do. I want to tackle my clutter. I want to do it quickly while I'm locked down at home. And so we created our 8-week room by room boot camp, which was a huge success, wasn't it? We took people one room every week. We said, this is the room for this week. This is the room for next week. And so many people joined us and did that 8-week boot camp, didn't they? Which was different for us, different to the way we would normally do things, but life was different. And so we created something that was different. And now we will adapt it again to probably not to be 8 weeks, but for those people who want to do a quick fix, there are people out there who want to do it quickly, and that's absolutely fine. And we need to provide that for people. And so the room by room boot camp was a huge success, wasn't it, Ingrid?
Yes. And it's so funny, Lesley, because it was back in kind of May time. And on the one hand, that seemed like yesterday, but on the other hand, it seemed like so long ago. It's really funny how the time has either gone quickly or slow. It's really strange how the months have developed. And then we kind of came out of lockdown a bit over the summer, and now we're back in lockdown. But other parts of the world are completely different. So we were talking to our members in our membership, and they're like, "Oh, you're out of lockdown. We're now in an extended lockdown, and we still can't go anywhere. And what do I do with all my stuff?" And it's been just, I don't know. It's just been strange and good and interesting and kind of everything at the same time. I can't really describe it, actually.
No, you're so right. It's so difficult to describe, but I guess we needed to jump in and do what we do best, which is inspire people to declutter, because that's what the world wanted. As you rightly say, Ingrid, we had to get over this barrier of the charity shops being closed. People were like, because we didn't want people to be like, well, there's no point in me decluttering because I can't take my stuff anywhere. We were very much think outside the box. I think this year, things like Free Cycle, Eagle, giving things away, those kind of things have really gathered momentum this year, because the normal outlets for stuff have disappeared for large parts of it. So people have had to share things within the community rather than charity shops. So that's been a really interesting shift in 2020 as well. But we put a podcast out. One of our most popular podcasts was all about 10 things to declutter when the charity shops are closed, which was a really useful podcast for us to do. And people absolutely loved it, didn't they? Because we were like, carry on with your decluttering. Don't stop just because the charity shops are closed. Keep on going. Think about other things. think outside the box in terms of things that are smaller, things that are digital. All of those things can be done while you've got this fantastic opportunity. Well, it's not a fantastic opportunity, but let's say unique opportunity. That's probably a better word to focus on decluttering at home.
Yes, I know. And you can see it. I mean, we had a look at like what podcasts did really well this year. And also the one decluttering during lockdown did really, really well. 10 things to declutter from your home immediately was the best one from this year. I think maybe it's the 10 things that people really like, the 10 areas, the 10 things. I think it kind of spurs people on. We really had to make that mind shift because normally we're always like, oh yeah, let's put it in the bag and bring it to the charity shop. But that couldn't happen. And we had to kind of go, don't stop your decluttering. Keep going. You just need to create some space somewhere where you're going to put the items, label the bags properly so you know you've already sorted this. This is all ready for the charity shop or the op shop or Goodwill or whatever it is when it reopens. And yes, I mean, definitely all the giveaway groups. I've freegled several things from my house when we were sorting out the garage and doing up our loft this year. And we found stuff that we thought, okay, that's actually not very handy to bring to a charity shop or to store for until they open. But let's see if we can freegle or free cycle it. So yeah, that was really good. Really good.
And that is a good thing. You know, sharing things within the community and finding these different outlets is a fantastic thing. And I think that's something that's happened this year because it's had to. Because, of course, even when the charity shops open back up again, they were completely inundated with people taking like 20 bags of stuff there. And so they were like, we can't take any more. And even now, even when you're out of lockdown, the charity shops are operating with appointment only on certain days of the week. They're being very choosy about what they sell. And so even now, we're not back up to full pelt with the charity shops, are we? So it's been a tricky year in terms of that barrier of getting rid of the stuff, which is an integral part of the decluttering process, isn't it?
Yeah. And it wasn't only the charity shops, Lesley. I think it was also the recycling centers, or the tip, as we call it here in the UK. Those were closed for a while and now work with appointment systems. I think we all had to adjust that we suddenly have to make appointments for everything. We can't just show up. And that's kind of, I think that's what helped people as well, being more decluttered and having less clutter, that they were more prepared to kind of go, okay, so what's the next step here? And that's what we've been trying to teach our listeners as well. Think about the next thing that needs to happen so you can prepare for it. One of our favorite things, preparing for a decluttering thing that you're doing.
Yeah, so we've had a lovely year, haven't we, Ingrid? We the nice thing for us, even though it was really sad because we couldn't work with our one-to-one clients, is that we could completely 100% work on the Declutter Hub, on the podcast, on the membership, on the boot camp, all of those things. We had the time to devote to try and get things right. So we've spent more time with each other this year than ever before, haven't we? We've seen each other quite a lot, like 8 hours a day. For when we were recording our boot camp, for example, it was literally like, yeah, that's probably 36 hours that we've clocked up screen time this week. It was quite good fun though, wasn't it? And then we'd have wine o'clock at 5 o'clock on a Friday night after a busy week.
Lesley, honestly, it's amazing that we can still have stuff to tell each other. B, I think I've seen you more than my husband and my kids. And C, we still have a great laugh together. And I think it's what your daughter said the other day. I hear you guys constantly laughing. You're like working, but you're like constantly laughing and having a great time. It's absolutely amazing. And so thank you, my lovely partner in crime, for making the year so special, because it could have been very dreadful.
I know, exactly. We just went down the work route, didn't we? And sharing it with our partner in crime. Yeah, exactly. And what such a nice day. Even though it's not Christmas, I'm gonna propel myself to Christmas Day and say how nice it is that we've actually seen each other on Christmas Day as well. Merry Christmas, Ingrid.
Merry Christmas, Lesley.
I know. Right, back to the task in hand. Let's talk about our podcast, because we broke some barriers this year, didn't we, Ingrid? How many podcasts did we break this year? How many downloads, I mean?
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. First of all, listeners, you guys are like awesome. Thank you for being here every week. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for your reviews and your positive comments and letting us know how our podcasts have impacted you so much in your day to day. I mean, apparently we are in your ears when you are exercising and when you are decluttering and when you are doing the washing up or walking the dog. Apparently people listen to us before they go to sleep. So at night they dream about us. I mean, we get the most loveliest emails and messages about the podcast. And we are just so grateful to you for being here every week and to listening to us chat about a half an hour about just random things. And it's working for you. I mean,
Excuse me. Do you think that what we are chatting about is random things? Is that what you're saying about our organisation, that we're just randomly talking about? Yeah, we're going to talk about today that's random. It's very controlled and organised, Ingrid Johnson. It's not random.
no, you're right. But I mean, I don't even know how many downloads we have. It's like insane. We're like 250,000 downloads or something. I don't even know. You tell me. You're the numbers woman.
It's something like that for sure. And that is lovely because I suppose it's just something that we can look at that tells us how we're doing. But actually, in reality, it's the emails and the reviews and the things that you're saying on the Facebook group. They're important. It's not about the numbers. It's how we're impacting people on an individual basis. But it is really nice, obviously, to see those numbers going up because that means that we're impacting loads and loads of people. And that's what we love. And it's a very little niche podcast. We're in the top 20% of podcasts worldwide for our little decluttering podcast. Who knew? And so many people give up. So many people start podcasting and then give up because it's hard. It's not easy to put a podcast out, is it, Ingrid? It's quite a lot of work, to be fair. It's probably about 7 or 8 hours a week to put a podcast out, just to put it into context in terms of planning it and recording it and editing it. And because honestly, we definitely need to edit it. Otherwise, there will be things, the amount of times that we just start laughing. That would not be good to hear all our laughter in the middle of it and all our little things that we get wrong. You definitely don't want to hear that. We leave some of it in, but for the most part, we edit it out. So it's quite a lot of work. And so, we're really proud of ourselves, aren't we, that we keep on coming up with great topics that resonate with people and that we're able to deliver that and inspire you every week. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts for listening every week because it's just lovely and it's what makes us tick, isn't it, Ingrid?
Yeah, for sure. And now that we're talking kind of more about the podcast, I want to do a shout out to all of our guests that we had on the show. I mean, we do a lot of the podcasts ourselves, but once or twice a month, we have either a guest expert, and we also have some of our members who've been brave enough to share their stories. So thank you to everyone who's been a guest this year. It's just been absolutely wonderful.
It's not easy when you're going through a decluttering journey to share your backstory. And that's what we were lucky enough that 5 of our members have been on the podcast this year to share how they were feeling about their clutter and how this journey through decluttering has helped them and has helped and changed their mindset. And I think that's really powerful stuff, isn't it? Mm-hmm. We can sit here all we like and say, this is going to change your life. This is going to change your life. But actually you need to hear it from the horse's mouth, and different people have got completely different journeys. And that's what's really interesting about the guests that we've had on our podcast. So a big shout out to Timna, who's episode 89, if you want to listen, Josephine, who's episode 95, the lovely Tracy at 99, Jeannie at 104, and Sue at 112. All those people that have come and shared their story. Thank you so much for being here. Some of our most listened to podcasts. People love to listen to other people's journeys.
Yeah, and we even have been speaking to our own clients. I mean, I've spoken to my lovely client Julia about the bereavement. You've been talking to your client Jill about her journey into hoarding. That was a really well listened to podcast as well, Lesley.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's brave. That's the thing. It's really brave to come on and share that for other people to learn from.
We've also had some really lovely fellow professional organizers chat to us this year, right? I mean, gosh, we had Sarah who did 2 podcasts with us all about ADHD. They were really well listened to. And also Alison Lush with chronic disorganization. 2 podcasts really well listened to, both of them. So thank you both as well. And of course, we didn't have Alison and Sarah. They both did 2 podcasts, but we had some other fantastic guests too. So thank you, Juliette, Shalina, Lindsay from Access for Lofts, who we talked about about lofts and boarding lofts, etc. Cal Spellman, we did a podcast with. Amy Payne about digital organizing. And right at the beginning of the year, Helen Rebello. So, wow, such lovely, diverse guests. It's amazing. Oh, so many different topics. Fantastic.
And of course, the ones that we've missed out, actually, that were guests, which was quite interesting, I'm not going to lie, was when I invited my children onto the podcast to talk about their experience of living with me as a professional organizer, which was quite insightful. If you have not listened to that one, tune in what I have learned from my mum. And they were super honest, weren't they? And it was quite funny. Bottom line is it was funny. So I didn't quite know what I was letting myself in for anyway. So thank you to Luke, Leah and Nathan for being on the podcast as well. Appreciate it.
Yes. So, gosh, 52 episodes, Lesley. 52 episodes. It's like, and we haven't run out of ideas yet. We're already way ahead. We're preparing for 2021. We've got some fantastic topics coming up. It's every time we think, can we really think of something else to chat about? But we still have a very long list. So if you're listening now, you're thinking, oh, I actually would love to know this and that, and I've never heard a podcast talking about it, send us an email via hello@declutterhub.com, because maybe you've got an amazing idea for a podcast that we haven't done yet. Please tell us and email us, right?
Definitely. It's good to know, because we do forget things, and sometimes it's the obvious things, isn't it? We're like, of course, we've never done that. So yeah, do let us know. Let us know.
Yeah. Now, besides our boot camp, our podcast, and our 40 Days, 40 Items challenge, we've done 2 other challenges, haven't we, Lesley, this year?
We have. And so we did our Reset Your Home challenge, which was to introduce the methodology that we use within the Declutter Hub called the Reset Your Home system. So we did the Reset Your Home challenge back in September, and it was amazing, wasn't it? So nice. So nice to see those light bulbs going on with people. That's what we do our challenges for. We try and encourage you to look at decluttering in a different way. And it certainly hit the spot, didn't it, Ingrid?
Same with the Reset Your Wardrobe challenge, actually, back in November. So many light bulbs, so many positive outcomes, mindset shifts, insights that our challengers never had realized before. Lovely emails of people sharing stuff with us, both in email personally, but also on the group. Fantastic posting in the Facebook group as well. And just progress, positivity. I think being kind to yourself was very, very important, especially in this year. That really resonated with people.
So what did you learn this year then, Ingrid, about yourself?
I learned a lot, actually. I think I realized, I knew my family was important to me, but I think by not seeing them, I realized even more how much I miss them. Of course, they're not here in the UK. Most of my family are all in the Netherlands, where I'm originally from. So that's been quite hard. I also learned how much I love holidays. We haven't been on holiday. I really miss my holiday, Lesley. I did go away in August. Of course, when we came back, I had to go to quarantine for 2 weeks, because in the middle of my holiday, the government decided we all had to quarantine if we came back from France. So that was interesting. I learned how incredibly proud of my children I am, how they dealt with COVID and being at home and having to do school from home, and how it all changed. It's, yeah. And I learned how much I love working with you. I knew that already, but it's really kind of reiterated. We joke about it that we actually saw each other day and night, but we really have, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. I know. I just think it's a really interesting time, isn't it, to learn? I think it's just about stopping. I think that's what, just stopping and reevaluating and spending the time to, as you rightly say, spend time with your family. It's so interesting when you go out for walks. At the moment, really the only thing that we can do is go out for walks. And so we're going out with our family much more. And it's so lovely to see teenage and grown-up children out with their family walking every weekend, because normally that wouldn't happen. Normally you might do that once or twice a year. but not every weekend. And so it's lovely to be able to spend the time. I feel desperately sorry for the youngsters because I do think they're the ones that have really, really been impacted, in terms of parts of their lives that are being taken away that they'll never get back because it's such an important part of their growing up. I learned that there are so many people that are giving so much for other people, healthcare workers, care workers, nurses, doctors, all of that kind of thing are giving so much and putting other people that are not part of their families first, which is really, it's a real message, isn't it? It's a real learning point. And so I think it's been an interesting year, and we all know what COVID is and how that's impacted us on a personal basis. I consider myself to be lucky at this moment in time because I have not been adversely affected from a medical perspective. There's not, I don't know anybody who's died from COVID. I don't know anybody who's been seriously financially impacted by COVID. And so I consider myself very lucky in that regard. But if we take it back to the decluttering level, which is what we're here to talk about, I'm grateful that people have been able to do and see what we see week in, week out, which is that decluttering and having the home that reflects the current you with things in it that are useful to your life right now is very, very impactful, very positive and meaningful, and can change your life and your whole outlook.
I think for me as well, I've had the realization to really think about what's important to me and how do I want to fill my time and with whom and which people are important and which people do I want to spend my time with and with which things do I want to do that make me happy and I think that happened through COVID because we couldn't go anywhere. We kind of started to realize, oh, wow, okay, let's figure this out. What makes me or you happy?
You are so right. And so let's leave this podcast there for today.
Yeah.
I think that's our summing up of 2020. Everybody's version of 2020 has been completely different. I hope that so many of you out there have had the positive sides to things that we have seen through 2020, because that's super important. I think the important thing for me is the people, our family then. We've got a little a big actual decluttering family as well, haven't we? And so spending time with our members, spending time in the Facebook group is so important to us because that's what's got us through. We've dived into our work because life has allowed us to do that. And we felt that it's important and it's giving back to you guys to create some positivity in a tough year. And so I feel hugely grateful for that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And if you're now listening to yourself and you think, wow, I worked through COVID. I was a key worker. I did not have the time to do my house, or I was so overwhelmed by all the information about all the changes. I did not put my house first, but 2021 is going to be the year that I do want to do that because I am listening to you, Lesley and Ingrid, but 2020 wasn't the year for me. But I'm going to use 2021. Now everything has calmed down a bit. We're getting slowly but surely used to the new normal or whatever that means. Why don't you come and join our challenge? On the 4th of January, we are starting the brand new year with a brand new challenge, and it's called the Reset Your Home Challenge. It's going to be absolutely fab. It's going to be a great way for you to start 2021, get motivated, get inspired with lots of other people. Declutterhub.com/RYH, Reset Your Home -challenge. So RYH-challenge. So come and join us. Come and enjoy and find out that decluttering really is a lot of fun when you're doing it together with a whole bunch of other people. So we really hope you're going to join us there. Let's close off this podcast by saying have a wonderful Christmas day. We will see you in 2021 for our next podcast on the 1st of January. I think it is the 1st of January.
We love a new year, don't we? We love a New Year's resolution because decluttering is always high on people's lists. And so that's our chance to shine, isn't it? And to encourage people. So just you wait for our New Year's Day podcast and imagine what it's going to say.
So that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for listening. If you want to stay inspired over the holiday season, come and join our Facebook group, the Declutter Hub community. And if you're not subscribed yet to our podcast, subscribe to us so it will pop into your notifications each Friday. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast. Check out declutterhub.com for more inspiration, and don't forget to tune in next week.